live. Hang on. In 2 minutes 30 seconds, it said you're going live.
Yeah. We're going live. I can see myself. I'm on the internet. I've made it finally. Good evening and welcome to Quarantine TV. Hashtag Quarantine TV. My name is Philip O'Connor, and if you're following this, you probably saw me on Twitter or somewhere like that. You're one of the handful of really tasteful people who've decided to subscribe to this particular channel. And the reason I'm trying this out at this particular point in time, and I haven't done it previously, is that we're living in crazy times here now. There's nothing to watch on the TV. There's no sport. There's nothing like that. And the only thing that we're talking about is this coronavirus, right? But life goes on. There's still a load of things going on. I was saying to somebody there today that even though I write a lot about sport and there's no sports going on, that I think I've written more in the last couple of days than I have done in months because there's so much that's happening. But to help me test out the functionality of all this new software and everything else that I have, I've brought along my good friend, my learned friend, Niall McGrath. Niall, I'm going to bring you into picture there, so stop whatever it is you're doing and tell us how you're getting on over there in Dublin. How are you?
I'm good, man. Yeah, not too bad. Can't complain. Messing around with some equipment and things like that. Obviously in this time that we're having at the moment, it's pretty worrying. So I think everyone's working from at home and stuff. So I'm trying to get a plan together to get some more equipment in so I can do a lot more from at home.
Yeah, that's an absolutely amazing setup that you have there, because this is not your first rodeo, right? You've been working from home, you have your studio there, you have your posters there, you've been podcasting out of that room. When did you start this sort of online life of yours, so to speak? When did you start putting all that kit together for yourself?
Oh Jesus, it must be 8-9 years ago now since the first time I got into MMA. So it's a long time, Phil. It's it must be 9-10 years ago. It's sort of that long. I've actually have a big, in the corner there, I have a big plastic container full of different equipment, basically online on the field sort of solutions like that. I've actually just purchased a new mixer here, if I can show that to you.
Is that the Rode Podcaster Pro, is it?
Yeah, it's a brilliant piece of kit. I've literally only got it yesterday, so myself and Pete did our podcast on it for the first time.
All right. Listen, if we're going to do this, right? If we're going to do this, here we go. I bought the Zoom, right? So we've been having these arguments for God knows how long offline over what's better and that kind of thing. So, and, obviously you can't afford to buy both. Now, if you and me had like unlimited amounts of money, we would obviously buy both of these things. But one of the things that struck me was that the only person that I am seeing on any sort of regular basis at this point in time is the Amazon delivery guy, because it's absolutely it's really dangerous for your bank account to be stuck at home with nothing to spend your money on. Because here's the latest thing. Actually, I got this today. I don't know if you can see that in the picture there, right? It's from a company called Saramonic, right? And it means that you can use a small little DSLR, but you can put 2 microphones into it. So when you're out in the field, as you and I tend to be, right? And the little small like headphone connectors, 3.5mm connectors or whatever you have, usually only have one of them on a camera, right? So anytime you see Pete Carroll out in the field, he's using one of those things and he's sticking a microphone under somebody's nose to do things. And I've often said that sometimes when he interviews people, he doesn't go back to himself for the question, so it's just to do video. So instead of having that, you can have 2 of these little lapel mics that you can put on there. But this is costing me a fortune, and I don't know where the money's going to come from. The Euros were cancelled yesterday, but on a slightly serious note, because it saddens me to say that I heard yesterday that was your last shift at News Talk Day. You were working for Off the Ball for a good while there, and unfortunately now, because of the fact that there's no live sport, that there's a lot of freelancers like ourselves who are losing their jobs. And I just want to check in with you, how are you feeling about all that thing? Are you sort of getting through that? Are you stoic? Are you annoyed? Are you upset? What's the story with you?
Sort of half expecting it with the situation we're in at the moment. A lot of the freelancers across our industry have been cut at the moment, so it's just, you just have to take it on the chin, I guess. It's obviously worrying, but as I said to you there, I've been planning to sort of get my own setup going and go that little bit step further. So a couple of weeks ago, actually enrolled on sort of it's more really the specs and the technical aspects I'm sort of not too good with in terms of PC. I actually want to go over from PC to Mac in terms of live streaming and software. So I have that in my mind, which I've had for a few weeks. So I'm excited about that. But yeah, obviously that's worrying. But I'm still working for MMAfighting.com locally on a freelance basis as well. So listen, Phil, what can you do about it? It's worrying times, but I think you just gotta look at the bright side of it and keep a positive hedge. I've overcome sort of more than that in my career. I think for mixed martial arts, it was 6-7 years before I was even getting paid for my content. So it's a tough game, you know.
Yeah, no, it's interesting what you say though, because one of the things I was out on LinkedIn, you know, LinkedIn is some place that I'm mad on, you know. It's just there's too much hard sell going on. You know the day you open your LinkedIn account, like, you know, 50 blokes that you went to school with are going, you know, we should hook up, and you go, really? No, thank you, you know. No, but you know, there's good people on there as well. But I was sort of on there saying today that this to me seems to be a good time to do exactly what you're saying, right? Because what you're saying is, you know, go sharpen your skills. If there's not going to be any work, you may as well be learning something new that then, you know, when everything does improve and, you know, when sports are back on and that kind of thing, that, well, at least you'll have done something then. You'll be coming back to it with a sort of a better skill set, a sharper skill set and that kind of thing, you know. So I'm like, you know, those boxes and that mixer I was holding up, like, I'm a terrible man for just throwing the manual straight into the bin and going, okay, how does this work? And then it doesn't work, and then I ring you and this kind of thing, you know. So I could have taken the time. What you were saying there as well, the kit is really important, and I know we're not going to get too nerdy for people who aren't into these things, but, like, you know, I spent so much time. I filmed a couple of interviews there recently. I was in Norway I was in Portugal for the Algarve Cup with the Norwegian team, and I filmed a couple of interviews with a Sony camera, and I've seen the lads from Full Reptile Media doing a lot of stuff with that, you know, and there's a lovely feel off the images you get. It looks really cinematic, you know. Now, that may not be great when you're doing what you and I do, if you're going to press conferences or media days or whatever, and you're filming people. It's just stand-up stuff, like. But if you're doing something, you know, slightly longer, more documentary kind of stuff, it's lovely stuff to do, which is why I bought that unit, that kind of thing. Cause
well, I'll tell you one thing about the Sony gear, and I'm sorry to cut across you there, Phil, but the Sony gear is excellent. It's clean HDMI, so basically if you put that through onto your computer or anything like that, onto a capture card, it comes through clear. There's no, like, record button on the side or anything like that. So Sony have, from the get-go, unlike Canon and a lot of the other sort of operators and manufacturers, they've really put a focus on live streaming. So that's been very important. And I think that's what you get with the Canon, or with the Sony gear. You have a lot of people buying Sony gear for live streaming because it's actually excellent straight out of the box. Any of their DSLR range is really good. It's really clear, crisp streaming. So, yeah, good points on the old Canon stuff. Definitely if people are working for at home as well, you know. Yeah.
It's a funny thing, though, because, you know, we're talking about all these things, and it's always at times like this, right? If you look back to the recession in 2008, now we were both much younger men back then, right? But when you think about it, when we want to do all these things, it's probably when we have the least amount of money to do them, right? So, you know, we would love to be able to do these things and go, right, let's spend all the money on this stuff, like, and it's just, you can't do it, like, you know. So that thing costs like €40 that goes on the top of the camera. They go, okay, that's it, because otherwise there'll be no money left, you know. And again, like yesterday, I had this really bittersweet thing, you know. And I'm not gonna. Here comes the big fucking trumpet now, you know. I managed to break the story yesterday before anybody else in the world that the Euros was officially cancelled, right? And
Go on.
I swear, yeah. No, did I not? I'm sure I texted you about that last night.
No, you didn't.
No, but it was just one of those things that worked out. Like, I just got the information before anybody else, and I got it confirmed from two separate places before anybody else. And as you know, then you can go with it. But that was brilliant. But what was really unfortunate is that same news cost me thousands because, you know, you have to go and cancel your whole European, you know, half of July, 3 weeks in June and 1 week in July. That's just work that's gone out the window now. That's not going to happen.
Yeah.
So it's kind of bittersweet to be doing that, and at the same time you're thinking, oh, you know, well, I could have bought this or I could have done that or that kind of thing. But if we pan out just a little bit and talk about what's going on where you are, where I am, what's the coverage like of the coronavirus? Because, you know, a lot of people, I don't know if you were watching the evening news last night, but the Irish Taoiseach, the Prime Minister there, Leo Varadkar, was talking, the speech was really good. Whatever you think of politically, the speech was really good. But
it was, yeah.
What's the vibe on the street where you are, so to speak? What's your family saying about it, your friends saying about it, the lads in the pub in Churchtown that's probably closed by now? What are they all saying about it?
I think there's mass worry. You know, it's got very quiet around here in the last week, especially since Wednesday or Thursday, I've noticed. It's really sort of decreased in terms of people even on the road, cars on the road, everything. WhatsApp, you know yourself, there's a lot of bullshit going around, and I'd like people, again, I've reiterated this about 15 times, even to my mates, lads, stop posting shit that is totally left field, totally not from the right sources. It's doing my head in. But there's mass hysteria and panic amongst people. I've you know, friends losing jobs left, right and centre, which is very, very unfortunate. Including myself, obviously lost a job there. But there's a lot of panic, and it's very, very worrying. And I think Ireland now, over the last week, as I said, has really become to take this situation incredibly seriously, unlike our neighbours in the UK, unfortunately. And I do agree with you. I think Leo Varadkar's speech last night was very reassuring, and I think a lot of the people needed that, and I think a lot of the online reaction this morning, bar Joe Brolly, was absolutely fantastic towards Leo. But yeah, Phil, it's just worrying and it's frightening, and all the jobs, I think, one of my friends have lost their jobs, as I said to you, like, they have kids to look after. I don't have kids, 3 kids, a wife, a mortgage. Luckily I don't have that, but that is the worrying thing, and that is the sign of the times we're in at the moment. So,
but if we're to put this in perspective now for Niall McGrath, is this better or worse than when Ireland got knocked out of the Rugby World Cup?
Don't know. I'm only joking. Of course it's worse. Of course it's worse.
But actually, let's pick up on one of the things you said there, because I've said it a good few times already on social media, that kind of thing, and I'm keeping repeating it because it's so serious, right? And that is the WhatsApp thing that you were just mentioning
yes.
there, right? So I mentioned there about the Euro 2020 story and me breaking that yesterday, right? 2 sources, right? Named sources. They have to be named individuals. They have to be people that you can say, okay, this person said that, right? And I'm asking people, I'm begging people to do the same thing on WhatsApp, right? Like, not somebody's mate, or I heard from some fella who's a guard, or that kind of thing, right? And even, like, really clever people are doing the same thing, going, oh, I know a bloke, and he said, and it's always the same. Like, if I hear the word lockdown once more, I swear to God, I fit the swing for people who are telling me that they know for sure that, the guards are going to be out in the army is going to be in the streets and that kind of thing. So if you are out there, and one of the things we're saying as well now was that we've got to be sensitive, right? Because the people who put those things in your WhatsApp group with your mates and your family and that kind of thing, they are ultimately acting from a place of concern for you, for Niall. They want you to know this, and they want you to be safe in this kind of thing, right? Well, what they don't realise is that the misinformation, or information pollution, I think the academics call it, is actually making everybody unsafe. But how do you deal with it then? Do you sort of call people out when you're in a WhatsApp group, or do you just go, fucking delete it, or do you block people, or have you lost your temper with anybody yet? Because let's face it,
I've lost my temper. Listen, there's 2 main groups I'm on. There's a group of lads I was in class with in school, and then another from a few of the lads under my area. There's like 3 or 4 of us in that. And both groups, about 6 or 7 times, I said, lads, please stop sharing this absolute horse manure. It's from unreliable sources. The only sources you should be looking at are governmental sources on Twitter, official, state organisations. The World Health Organization, obviously the government, Leo Varadkar, Simon Harris, guys like that. Anything else, just shut up, because it's not. And don't look at it. I really was getting cross, Phil, I have to say. I've said it 6 or 7 times in the 2 groups I'm in, 2 main groups I'm in, that'll be, every day, every few hours, and it's just shite coming in the whole time, and it's very frustrating because, as you said there, I don't know how many times I've sat on stories in the past, fight stories, because I can't get my 3rd confirmation of the story. That's my rule. It's 3 strikes. You have to get the 3 before you can confirm. And I've sat on, I'd say, 50, 60 fights over the years because I haven't been able to get that, 3rd source. So just please, people, just look at the governmental sources, nothing else. Forget WhatsApp. The amount of misinformation I've seen in some of those groups is incredible, and like, it's even family members as well saying it. It's actually, I've gone to, and they sort of question you, because I only look at stuff even online or anything like that if I'm consuming any sort of information on reputable sites that I know you're getting good information out of. And people, I think, are very quick in this day and age, the social media age, to forget what they're looking at sometimes, and they're just bloody plonkers, really, to be honest, Janet. It's very frustrating, and I think it's something we really need to cut out, is this stupid sharing of this shite on WhatsApp.
There was an interesting one today, actually, that you mentioned that story there. There was an account with 7,000 followers on Twitter, and it was one of these, TV, whatever, I don't know, Superstar TV, whatever it was, right? And they were saying, oh, the Eurovision's going to be cancelled, and they were referring to some report, I think it was out of Israel or something like that the Eurovision was going to be cancelled, right? But they were saying, breaking, it's cancelled. I was going, no, it's not. It will be cancelled. We all knew it was going to be cancelled. And I've been talking to people who are actually going to perform at the Eurovision, and they were saying, yeah, well, it's going to happen, it's a matter of time, but the information hasn't been sort of confirmed yet. And I sat down and I said, okay, I wasn't, like, it's the Eurovision, this is way outside my wheelhouse, right? So I'm not going to put the effort into going and calling people and, getting onto TV executives and doing all this bullshit. It's just let the story happen, kind of thing, But there is a lot of stuff out there. But have you noticed, do you change your habits or that kind of thing? Is there anybody that you followed before on social media that you kind of gone, you mentioned, I know Joe Brolly there, who's a very famous Irish sports star and broadcaster. He's been very sort of vocal about the situation in Northern Ireland, but he's annoyed some people with that. Have you found yourself sort of changing where you go and who you listen to over this particular coronavirus thing?
I think you have to be, because I think you need to cut off from it as well at times. I've noticed that, and I sort of agree with what Leo said last night. I felt myself last week, consuming it 24/7 almost. It was taking me over to a certain extent, and I think for your mental health in yourself, I was getting a little bit, sort of panicky, oh God, thinking of all the negative things from constantly following this coronavirus. And I think sometimes you just need to switch off and get away from everything, all forms of social media, because people are literally freaking out. I've had numerous amount of friends telling me, I'm going to lose my job. And I know all these things are happening, but, you're not in control of this virus. No one is in control of this virus. And in terms of consuming my media, I've actually, a lot this week, gone on to a number of American outlets, because I think sort of last week the Americans, it was towards the rear of the week that the Americans really started panicking about it. And in fairness to them, I think they were the first ones. I think it's Ohio University with the heat map and things like that. So I've actually started looking at sources in the US as well as in Europe. But turning off, I have. To be honest, I've actually muted a lot of people on Twitter, coming out with this army malarkey and all this sort of crap that's totally unfounded information. So a lot of people have been muted on Twitter this week. I couldn't tell you exactly who, but it is.
My latest thing is actually the preemptive mute, right? So if I go into your Twitter feed and I see somebody, like some guy or some girl, and I know they're going to annoy me down the line because I know they're going to pop up again, and just go, I'll just mute you right there. Okay, that's what's done. And you don't have to make it, like, there doesn't have to be some sort of big performative show where it's like, right, I'm out of here now. No, we're not doing that. So you just get rid of them straight away.
You're dead right. You're dead right, man, because it's just getting to a point now where it's your head's just done in, it's with misinformation. And I think when you're getting to that point, it's actually toxic in many ways. And some people believe it as well. Some people aren't as, maybe tech savvy, and they're not on Twitter, they're not on Facebook, they're on WhatsApp. This stuff gets around. They can't verify it because they're not online. They don't have an online presence, especially older people as well, which are the most vulnerable in our society at the moment.
Well, no, I think, we're letting a few people off the hook there, right? Because, certain people who should know better. Now, we're inside the bubble, right? We do this every day. I don't know if you saw the story today about your ex-Manchester United hero, Zlatan Ibrahimovic, has started a collection, a GoFundMe for the Italian hospitals called Humanitas in Northern Italy. And we all know Northern Italy is one of the places that's been hardest hit by the coronavirus. So Zlatan started this collection for them there, right? And the first thing, like, I got it sent to me from another newspaper, right? And I don't trust anybody else. If I'm going to report on something, I have to do my own reporting. Sometimes you'll do a pickup of it or whatever else. But the first thing I had to do was go and find out if this is true, right? And the source of the whole story, of course, was his own official social media channels. So there's a video where he's speaking in Italian, and then there's the text of the statement is also in Italian on the side of it, and it tells you the whole thing and that. And I still went ahead and contacted Zlatan's people just to see, if I could get sort of, the very next level of confirmation. You just don't want to be out there. And the other thing is, you don't want to be giving somebody free publicity if, what they're doing. Now, as the point was made to me, it's like, he's made probably 100 million quid playing football. Why doesn't he just fucking buy a hospital? Which is a very valid question in this situation, But it's not that whole thing of filtering disinformation. But I think it is one of those things as well that I think it's an ongoing thing. I think people are reaching the level now. I left Facebook there a few months ago because I just couldn't take it.
Don't blame
anymore, you. And the same thing here with WhatsApp now. I think people are actually becoming very aware that what's getting circulated. We have obviously the Stockholm Gales here. You have the lads in the training group and that kind of thing. And some things will come up, but I'm trying to be as sensitive as possible because, like I say, people don't have the training that you and I have to be able to tell the difference between what's right and what's wrong. And they are coming at it from a place of sort of love and compassion. But aside from that, right, the virus is obviously knocking around the place. You're a man who's known to enjoy the odd pint of black stuff, etc., etc. You're a man who's been known to enjoy a game of football on the television or that kind of thing, or a game of rugby indeed. How are you managing to pass the time now when there is absolutely nothing to do?
Yeah, it's tough. Luckily, I've been for the last 4 days I've been flat out working. So today was a nice day off. So I just sort of chilled. I have a drone at home. I threw it up for a few minutes, and literally, Phil, as I said to you, what I've been doing, and luckily, as I've said to you, I've started this project a number of months ago. So I'm looking at spec and equipment. So I'm looking at reviews, and basically trying to better myself and better my setup. And that's sort of taking a lot of time. You're obviously on a budget. You need to sort of compartmentalize everything. So that's been a welcome distraction, in my opinion. But for a lot of other people and a lot of my friends, there's very, very little for them to do. And that's another worrying thing as well. As I mentioned mental health earlier, like, people are going to be stuck in their house for a month, maybe 2 months, maybe even longer. Like, what are they going to do? You're going to have to go out to your garden, have a run around. If you've a few quid extra, maybe purchase a drone, as I said, something like that to keep you occupied, a camera. Try and better yourself. Try and find something that you can do at home that will make you progress, and you'll be able to do something else with it, because there's no point sitting on your arse and not doing anything about it. That's how I feel. And obviously people should stick by the obviously the rules and what the governments want to implement, and most governments around the world, in terms of social distancing. So find something you can do, find something you have a bit of a passion about, and try and go after it with a few quid in your pocket to spend. And I know everyone doesn't have that at the moment, but just try and better yourself, really. That's the way I look at it.
Yeah, it was funny yesterday because when the story broke about Euro 2020 being cancelled and that kind of thing, and what was going to be one of the big stories of this Euros, of course, was Finland, right? Because they were playing in the finals of a major tournament for the first time, and the captain of the Finnish team is a fella called Tim Spalv. Now, I don't know if you've seen, we interact a bit on Twitter, but Tim is just a really genuinely, he's one of the few men I know who's taller than me, right? But he's like a really genuine, thoughtful, decent fella. And I've interviewed him a few times about everything from, is it ethical to go and play in training camps in Qatar and Saudi Arabia and this kind of thing. So, I figured, I'll see if he'll talk to me, So I sent him a text yesterday, and I said to him, can you talk to me about this and your disappointment and that kind of thing? And he's going, yeah, look, Finland, all the Finnish people are very disappointed, but it's a year, if we have to wait for a year, that's fine. And then I was suggesting, because he's 33, and I was going, are you not a little bit old for this? And he's telling me, get out of here, I'll play around for another year. But he was saying as well, and I've spoken to a few football players, a few of the girls who play for the Norwegian national team, Oda, one of the goalkeepers in that team, I was talking to her the other day about, what do you do if you're a professional athlete in a team sport, and Tim was telling me he was out running around the forest. Oda said the same thing. She lives right by a forest in a town called Moy, I think, in Norway there, just on the Swedish border, and she's saying that she's having a really hard time trying to fill it in, but yeah, she got back from Portugal and her parents were over there watching the games, and she actually started baking because there was no bread in the shops. So that's what she was getting up to pass the time. But do you find yourself, apart from doing the research and that kind of thing, are you a book reader or that kind of thing? Or are you catching up on stuff on Netflix or documentaries or that?
A little bit of everything, really. I read a lot online, a lot of articles, obviously, as we do. I'm a big Netflix fan. I'm a huge passion for documentaries.
Yeah.
All sorts of documentaries, war especially. Photography, all that sort of thing, and I'd watch anything on Netflix if it's involving sports. So, big connoisseur of South American soccer as well. So, just all that, just doing anything really, Phil, to try and keep your mind occupied. Even, so some conversations that you normally wouldn't have. Be ringing the sisters, having a chat with the nieces and nephews, because I don't want to obviously be in physical contact with them.
Yeah.
So that's tough for everyone as well, but. Yesterday was, I haven't really, Phil, to be honest, I don't think it's really sort of hit me yet.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be, because I've been quite busy the last sort of 5 or 6 days.
Yeah. And
I think it's the next 4 to 5 days, 6 days, it's really going to come home for everyone, I think, because it actually feels like a bit of a dream at the moment. Is this real? Is this, have I woken up from this nightmare that sort of come straight in front of our face in the last week? So it's tough. It's tough to get your head around what's going on at the moment. It really is.
Well, the funny thing is now that for the last 5 or 6 days, especially if you're working in journalism, everything is happening because everything's being cancelled. Yeah. Euro's being cancelled, Premier League being cancelled.
You're flat out. We're flat out the whole time.
And now it's only now when there's nothing to do. I mean, even today, there was still plenty of stuff to do. And I'm looking at this, and I think Andy Stevenson is a good friend of both of us. He was on Twitter there earlier on saying, "Look, I'm going to use this time to get to know people better, to do sort of longer, in-depth pieces." And I was saying the same thing to colleagues all over the world: is that now is actually a golden time to reach out to people, because we have the space. We don't have to compete with results or match reports or that kind of thing, so we can actually sit down and talk to people, and they don't have anything to do either. So I sent a message to Sid Lowe there, who apparently, if you believe the rest of the world, but he's the only guy who ever writes about Spanish football. Nobody ever sort of pays any attention to anybody else. Well, I said to Sid, finally we can sit down and maybe do a podcast about his work, because he's also a historian, So there's all these stories that we'll have a chance to tell, But you mentioned documentaries there. I'm going to lead into this question by asking you, a pint man like yourself, what did you do yesterday for St. Patrick's Day? And then I'll tell you what I did.
What I did, I worked till 10 o'clock last night from 1:30 in the afternoon. So it was a long day, as you said. There was a lot of news breaking yesterday. I think more cancellations. You talked about the Euros as you broke. There was obviously the tennis was moved. We had the death of the legendary, Roger Mayweather.
Yeah, I forgot that.
There was just a lot of stuff happening yesterday in terms of postponements, cancellations. So I was very consumed in that, and I didn't have a lot of time to really think about anything else. So that was my day. I finished up about 10 o'clock, and I had 2 cans of beer, and I threw on Netflix and fell asleep.
And that was it. That was your lot.
That was my day.
Okay, so obviously we couldn't have our St. Patrick's Day parade here in Stockholm or anything else like that. I must send you a picture. Actually, for years I was saying, I was St. Patrick at the head of the parade for years. I looked even more ridiculous. I had to have a fake beard because this one wasn't long enough, But I watched a documentary last night, right? It's called An Irish Story, This Is My Home, right? And I don't think you and me... Have we ever been to Re-Raw together in Las Vegas, in the Mandalay Bay Hotel?
We were.
So we went up there. The 2 boys who played there, Dave Brown and Dave Rooney, they set a Guinness World Record, right? They played in America's 50 states. They played 60 shows in 50 states in 35 days, right? And they made a documentary, and it came out yesterday on streaming platforms and iTunes, that kind of thing. So I'll post a link then in the show description or the comments later on, just to let people go and see if they can see this for themselves. Because the documentary, you've met the blokes, right? So you know who they are.
Great guys, yeah.
They're and the film is just hilarious because it's one of those things like you go into it with a certain level of planning and a higher level of ambition, but then reality strikes and just that one catastrophe after another. And it's just at times like these where things are sort of, not going wrong in the world. As I was saying to Andy Stevenson a little bit earlier on this evening, it's up to us to make the best of this, right? So if we can sit here having conversations like this, if we can improve our skills,
100%.
if we can talk to other people, if we can help them improve and that kind of thing, well then this won't be a sort of a lost thing. Have you been sending out any CVs or anything else like that, or is that sort of too early for that right now?
I'm very keen, as I said to you, to get my own studio perfected, because I'm at the stage, I think, of my career now. I want the quality of the production levels for me has to be the next level now at this stage, because I've been in it too long, and I could be doing a lot more video at the moment, but I've just chosen not to, because I'm focusing on getting this right, getting this together, and then we'll attack the content side of it when the production level is up to where I want it to be. But I've sent a couple out, not many, and there's a reason behind that as well. I think a lot of outlets are going to be the same. They're not going to be hiring at the moment, because there's no sport going on, like literally nothing. Bar, I think we've Cage Warriors this Friday night, which I'm very, very excited about, because I'm a mixed martial arts guy. But bar that, Phil, sports outlets, it's going to be very, very tough for anyone in the next number of months to really get involved or get aligned with an organisation that is going to have a budget for any sort of freelancers, and especially if you're a freelancer, you're not going to get much work. So I'm going to tactically approach that, I believe, in the next number of months, and maybe make a different decision. I want to stay in media, obviously, but maybe go down a little bit of a different line in what I'm going to do next. But listen, I'm not going away from my MMA. I've been also thinking about maybe do solutions, things like that, for this kind of environment where we're shooting, on the road, on the field, on the go. Things like, as you said, we had a conversation with the Saramonic kits that I've did. I know you have the road one. I've the Saramonic kits there. Just different things like setting up, a Zoom. It's very, very simple to turn a simple Zoom H2 or H4n or H6 into an audio interface. But people don't know how to do it or are not aware of it. So I'd like to be able to help people do that, especially in times like this at the moment. So I've actually been thinking about that the last few days, to keep my mind occupied, as you mentioned earlier on. Maybe set up a little bit of a YouTube channel and audio tech, helping out people how to come up with different solutions if they're working from at home remotely, because I know a lot of people are obviously crying out for that at the moment. I think I read something today as well on one of the guys, one of the colleagues I worked with, he said the demand in electrical and tech shops at the moment is absolutely out the door here in Ireland. So everyone's running around, clearing up on their computers, all this sort of gear, the tech sort of stuff. But another interesting thing as well, my drone, right? Here you go. This shows you how many people are working from home at the moment. It goes on the Wi-Fi frequency, right?
Yeah. And
I threw it up today. And normally you get it about, a kilometre away. It wouldn't go, Phil, because of the interference on the Wi-Fi lines more than 250 feet away from me.
Wow. So
it just shows you in the area alone here in South Dublin and Churchtown that there's that many people working from at home or on their internet. And I literally tried it at two separate occasions today, and it kept dropping signal, kept cutting off from my phone. So that just shows you how serious this is here and how many people are actually working from at home. It's absolutely insane. And I think as well, if you look at any sort of videos of tech, and I follow quite a few of them there online on YouTube. And this guy who's actually I was speaking to you about earlier on, where I've sort of been doing a little bit of a course. They do sort of unlisted videos if you pay a subscription. Their followership in the last 2 days has gone up 3 times the regular amount. So that just shows you the online traction. So if anyone's thinking about starting a blog, doing anything like that, why not? Go for it. Do it. If you have if you have an iPhone, you can stream from it. And I often say sound is probably more important often than your video many times to get the message across. And listen, if you want to do that, go for it. You've so much time. You're going to have more time. I don't think people realise this stuff isn't going away anytime soon. It's getting worse day on day. And we're going to be like this for a couple of months. So just do it. Go for it. Why not?
There was a very funny tweet there the other day. I don't know if you saw it from Nicola Coughlin. And Nicola was obviously in Derry Girls, and she's going, okay, this is a very, very serious situation we got going on here now. So, we all need to work together to make sure that every man under 35 doesn't start his own podcast. Which I thought was hilarious because, fine, go ahead, do it. We do this for a living. This is what we have to do kind of thing. But that was one of those things as well. I've been toying with the idea of doing sort of live stuff on YouTube for a long time, but you want to do something useful. You don't want to be just adding to the noise. You want to be sort of talking to things that are going to be in some way useful. And obviously, with a certain amount of experience in the media industry, I thought I could share part of that. But also, I think there's a lot of value to be had from understanding the dynamics of it. I was explaining the other night the difference between, you mentioned, World Health Organization, public service broadcasters, this kind of thing. And then, there's a difference between that and what a tabloid newspaper would put out about exactly the same story, because the tabloid is looking to get eyeballs for advertising, but public service is not necessarily doing that. And in these situations, you see a big difference between. So there's a value in that kind of thing. Have you ever considered doing the Patreon, the coffee model, any of that kind of thing?
No, I haven't really at the moment. I don't know why I haven't. I just whatever route I've tended to go. I think when you log on to YouTube, people want to see free stuff. I'm not sure. I just haven't decided to do yet. Maybe it's something conflicting in my mind. But everything I've sort of ever done has been on YouTube. It's been on national broadcasters. Maybe I'm a little bit naive to it. Maybe it's something I should think of. But I really haven't spent a lot of time thinking about it, Phil. And I think obviously YouTube are doing something now where you can actually, there's a donate button, something like that as well. Maybe that's something I might consider down the line. But maybe I need to start valuing my work a little bit more as well. That's obviously a big issue, I think, in media these days. In what you're selling yourself at, and that's a very important thing. Which, to be honest with you, and I'll give you kudos for this because you're the grand wizard of everything. you sort of instilled that into my mind a couple of years ago, 2 or 3 years ago. Where obviously we go back 4 or 5 years now at this point.
Yeah.
And you were great for that for me, and it's just sort of resonated in my head now, like that. Don't undersell yourself. Don't cut yourself short, because even I know reporters around this country that go out doing stuff for free, try and boost their profile for maybe a year and a half. And listen, it's just not the way things should be done. So that's how I feel about that.
Well, I think as well, I mean, especially when you think of the, I was listening to the podcast, and Niall obviously has the Eurobash podcast, for those who are watching and may not be aware of this MMA podcast, which has grown and grown and grown since he started with PT Carroll. But with the access that you have and the kind of guys that you can pull out, that has value. Again, not going back to it, but the Euro 2020, if I could pull out that story because of all the years I put into this, because of all the years, that has value too. And people, are prepared to pay, and pay reasonably handsomely, thanks be to God, for that kind of thing. So I think that it's definitely worth doing certain things like this. You or I are not going to make $1 here tonight, but in the long run, we're always going to sort of manage to do these things. So I can heartily recommend Niall McGrath sitting there in Churchtown in Dublin, ready. It has drone, will travel, that whole kind of thing. Listen, we'll let these nice people go to bed now. It's been a pleasure talking to you as always, and I'll probably text you in about 5 minutes when I can't work out how to turn off YouTube. Is that okay with you?
Bill, always a pleasure. Love you, brother. Take care. Be safe over there in Stockholm, and everyone else. Do do what your government says. Only look at the right sources. No messing around. No WhatsApp crap either.
That guy might be a great dictator. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, thanks very much for watching this evening. Look after yourselves out there. Noel McGrath is at Noel McGrath4 on Twitter, or you can find him in my mentions, pulling me up on all the mistakes I make grammatically or otherwise and sportingly. Huge Manchester United fan, and if you need him for any sort of content whatsoever, feel free to get in touch. That is the end of the first episode of Quarantine TV, and I think we managed to make it through it pretty much okay. So any feedback you have, gratefully taken. Any coffees you have, gratefully taken. Good luck. We seem to be ending there. Let me see. I need to move your face up.
Tell you now.